Welcome everyone. Today is day 5 of our 12 days of comfort and color. I have my holiday mug and I am pouring some hot water into my candy cane flavored tea, which I love so much. So I've got my cup of tea. We all need to have something cozy right now, maybe some hot cocoa, maybe just some sparkling water. Maybe you've got some adult stuff in your drink. I don't know what you've got today. Let's get a candle. We are on the list of cozy, which is at least 3 things, okay, for coziness. This is my candle. My cat is right here meowing. That's cozy too, actually. 1, 2, and I have got a nice warm blanket. So if you've got something like that, anything else that just feels good, music in the background. So that's our list of cozy. Let's get into what we're gonna paint today and then our supplies as well. So we're going to do a stocking that has some candy canes in it. I'll show you right off the bat. These are too small. These are probably too small. So we're gonna adapt and just adjust it a little bit as we go today. You might wanna have a candy cane to eat while you're painting today. Okay, so we are going to need our watercolor paints, some kind of a towel or a paper towel. If you've got a jar with some water, that is great. A little spray bottle to spray your paints, not necessary, just kind of fun and helpful. We will be using 6" by 9" cold press watercolor paper. Canson cold press, 140-pound cold press watercolor paper. That's how I usually say it. And your template, which we will be using on our paper. If you've got a heat gun or a hair dryer, that's great too. And hopefully you're all set. Oh, pencil. It's the same list every time. I really shouldn't forget it. A pencil and a kneaded eraser, a size 10 round watercolor brush, and I think we'll do ink over the top, so some kind of a pen. I've got an ultra fine point Sharpie. Make sure you're comfy and you're cozy, and then let's get to it. All right, so here's what we've got. You know how I said these ones are too small? There's a reason. I'm just saying that you're gonna have a harder time fitting your brush in these teeny tiny spaces, and to me this was annoying. I also wanted to show you that this dried after the rest, and that's what it looked like. So this one, getting it out of here. That was a sound effect. This one, better, cute. It's on square paper, so it's a little bit different. I like it. I was practicing some different things. Couldn't figure out how do you do a candy cane. I figured it out, guys, okay? So it'll be better in a moment. Look at this. That's not a candy cane either, but that was me trying to figure it out. Let's get to it here. Oh wait, let's study a candy cane. I wanted to show you. I got the baby ones at the store, and I wanted to show you that like these are all in the same bag, and they are all different. Isn't that kind of fun to notice? And as we talk about, observing and noticing is part of art. So it doesn't really matter how you do stripes today, but what we do see is they're coming, like they're down on this side, they kind of curve and come up, down to up, down to up. And as we turn, they continue to do the same thing, down to up, down to up. And that is how we're gonna make sense of it today. So make sure you got your paper and your template, and I will see if we can get started here. Got my little eraser just in case. And for this one, as we look at it, all we really need space for is this. So we probably do, since this is a different size, we probably do need to turn it just a hair so we've got some space up in the top. And for me, I'm gonna flip the whole thing. So flipping it, maybe pulling it down on my paper just a hair. Let's see if you can see it. And then making sure I've got space just for it to come up like this. Now, if you don't want to, you can have it go any direction that you want. Okay, but let's go ahead, find a spot for it on your paper. If you don't have one of these, it's a free printable, and it's linked in the setup video, which I called Day 0. And then a reminder that when we are drawing or doing anything with our pencil, we're always pressing lightly, at least until you're real sure on things, you know? But for watercolor, we just need a nice little simple line to go around this. Oh, and you know what? Good thing we're pressing lightly, because as we get back to our observing, look, straight. There is no cuff on this one, so we're gonna straighten out that line on the sides. Can you tell I'm tired? Because I can. December. Okay, so I'm gonna zoom in for you a little bit, and remember what we do when we want to get rid of that cuff is we actually just kind of already draw it, Then start here and ignore it and try to just connect our lines. Okay, and then we'll erase. Get rid of it. And you can, if you've got a kneaded eraser, don't forget you can pinch them and make them smaller and they'll fit into spaces a little bit better. We'll do the same thing over here. And I think this one's a little bit more of an aggressive one, so it'll kind of come out a little bit more, but we'll just erase what we don't want. I mean, you can change things. You can have a cuff on it. You would just put the candy canes on the bottom probably, and then maybe like a nice fluffy white top to the cuff, whatever you want. And then let's study this for a moment. And we just want to get it so that right from the top, we kind of find a spot over here and put 2 dots or 2 lines where we think this is going to begin. Now, it doesn't exactly matter how this works out. You just want it to look like there's a wider one on top that comes over to here, and that this one, it doesn't really have to be thinner, but we'll darken it later, and it's going to come from the same spot because it's really just folded. Okay, and it will meet sort of behind. So I'm going to kind of put this line over here. I'm going to guess where it's going to go, and I get to pick where it goes, right? So it's going to go there. And I'm going to take this first line and curve it up and over to that point. It doesn't have to be perfect on the first try. We're just going to let it start wonky. We'll come up this way. It might be skinnier here. Kind of widen out a little bit as we take it across. And then from here, where's it going to end? Maybe like this, maybe because it'll be behind, because if you were sewing this, you'd sew them one on top of the other. So we know this will come from behind. Somehow it'll swoop around, so some kind of line here. Make sense? If you wanted to, really, this would actually be all the way over, but it just depends on how you want it to look for your drawing, and drawings don't have to be exactly like real life, so it's fun. On paper, you could do anything you want. Okay, I like it. Feels good enough for me, but I do want to get rid of this line because, well, that's optional, you know? But I'm going to get rid of it on mine, just for something different. And we're going to start sketching our candy canes. So on this one, we can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the beginnings of 3. Look, I didn't even outline that one. I think I gave up after this little disaster. Do you see what I did? I like wobbled the outside around every one of the lines. Not great for me. Okay, so what I want is to actually enlarge these a little bit. And as I look at a candy cane, what's funny to me is when I went to draw them, I was like, what shape is this top part? But look, it really is like a loop. Like, watch this. I bet you we could turn it into like a tube. You see that? And that helps me figure out the shape I'm doing at the top. It's like, it's just like a long skinny oval. It would be a rectangle if we just cut off those edges. So, you know I like to get into the observing part. All right. Light myself on fire there. Okay, I'm going to do candy cane somewhere over here, but since I want it bigger, we're all going to wing it a little. Press lightly because candy canes can be weird, okay? And we're going to come up and over, but then come down further. Now, I noticed you can either leave this line straight or take it in towards the center a little bit. I think that's up to you. And we know that these candy canes are probably going to need some adjustments, all right? So don't be worrying about it. Just press lightly. And this is probably not that much bigger than this one, so I'm actually going to make it a little bit bigger. Notice how I'm doing that. Before I get rid of anything, I'm just going to go around what I've already got so I don't have to redo the shape. Now I'll probably erase some of what I actually need, but it's like a nice way to start. You just get to use your lines as a guide. Yeah, so we like them a little widened up. How wide is he, you might be asking? My pencil, probably. A little bit wider. And to me, this is going to be more fun to paint than... I'll show you the difference. See? Ooh, teeny tiny for your brush. Look at that. This one will give us more space. And I don't know how long they should be. That's up to you. It doesn't matter. But let's go ahead and stick some other ones in. I'll do one down here. And I'm trying for them to be kind of the same size as this one now. And coming up and over and down. And now this one might go all the way to the bottom of my stocking. So they're going to fill our space differently too because they're bigger. But like, that's actually, I think we're going to be liking it. So we want this, we're going to come across. So we do the whole, you know, it's like a J or upside down J, right? And then this part we curve it across. Then this next line is just going to be following alongside, and we're trying for the same width as we saw throughout. I think I do want to end it right before the bottom because I think that might look cute, but you can have it just fall right off the end if you'd rather. And we'll do another one over here. So when I do these, I like, you know, if you look at the one on the left, I like them kind of random, not all lined up, but you could do lined up too, and actually that would be cute. So you're just sticking them wherever. I'm going to turn this one on a different angle. I like lots of angles, but if it's helpful, I can turn my paper this way, and so can you, so that you get that same, you know, so it feels the same when you're drawing it. Still want that kind of like a J. And I like how this is, I already am like a big fan. Now you could turn some upside down if you wanted to. Should I do it? You can already tell I'm in a weird mood, in a tired mood. So guess what? I'm turning one upside down. I turned my whole entire stocking upside down first. Come up and over and down. It does provide some interest because you get kind of like two shapes. 2 for 1. And what do I do here? I'm going to do another one upside down going right here. And so I'll end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and probably at least 1/2. But you see what you like. This is going to be fun because on the background, we're going to get to practice a nice flat wash. And these are not too complicated of shapes, so they shouldn't be too tricky to paint around. Plus, on a candy cane, if we're using red and white, we'll have white space as one of our colors, so that simplifies things too. Okay, I think I need the end of one right here. So look at your space, see what you've got. Usually, like if this was pattern design and you were at the fabric store looking for some fabric, these would be equally spaced because it would be taken from a big sheet of fabric, right? So that's the kind of thing I like to think of when I do this. And then I'm looking for equal spacing, somewhat equal between everything. And when we get to this point where we've got most of it sketched, I want you to just stop, look at everything, okay, and see what you think. See if there's anything that you want to adjust. If there's any candy cane that got like real fat and wonky in one spot, 1, that might be cute. And 2, you might want to make it match the others. That's up to you. But once we paint with our watercolor paints, we're not going to be able to erase the pencil that we covered with paint. And so you want to get rid of any pencil lines you don't want to see later. But I feel like that's pretty good. If your pencil line is thick, you know, get rid of some of it maybe, because it's going to cut into your paint. Okay, from here we've got all of our candy canes sketched, and we're going to get into the actual putting of the colors on the candy canes. I think that's how you would probably say it. Just kidding. Okay. I can't even get these things next to each other today. Here we go. And I don't know why I've had to adjust this one so many times, but there we go. So what I found that I liked is actually if you take from, you're coming down, curving over like this. So watch what I'm doing. Down a little, over, down a little. Isn't that kind of a cute one? But when we looked at those candy canes, they didn't really have a curve necessarily. I think it's just that you can see a bit of it here. So this is up to you. You could go just diagonal, diagonal. Adorable. But do you see the difference? So now you choose which one you like better. Honestly, okay, this is going to be easier to paint because you're not going to have those teeny tiny corners. So I think I will do that as well. And if you wanted a little fancier, you go with the first one there. I don't know if you're fancy today. There, I'm not. I think I've made that clear already. Okay, so I like to go like, okay, red, white, red, white, red, white, and literally it doesn't matter, but we're going to start turning. Oh man, I'm gonna mess this up. Turning. This is not great. Let's look at our candy cane instead. What have I done here? I can't believe you guys stick with me, but I'm not gonna start over. I'm not gonna do the skinny ones in the middle. If you want to, you can, but that's gonna be very tiny brushwork, and for today I was simplifying it. Here's what we're gonna do. They need to be on more of a diagonal. Yeah, that's gonna be it, okay? More of a diagonal. And then here we'll do the same. If you want to screenshot this candy cane, because I'm going to move it off the screen soon, that's your guide. Okay, up and over. Really, if we do the curved one, we probably would have an easier time. 1, 2, so we can adjust it a little bit. In a second, you're just going to be doing this on repeat. Once Audrey can figure out herself. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it will be helpful to turn your paper just a little bit. Some of them are going to be wonky. Listen, in the end, it's all going to work out because you're not going to look at the one line. You're going to look at how the whole thing worked out. Okay, I'm playing with it for a second. Let's do more like the fancy one a little bit. Down and over and down. Down and over and down. Because I think when you curve, down and over. This part's the hard part, I think. But I'm not going to let a candy cane get me down today. Candy canes are for happiness. I believe in you, so I just believe that you are doing this better than me right now. But I will teach you how to watercolor paint, okay? Okay, I'm going to try it again. I'm skipping a space. One more and another. I just need to make sure I just like to think ahead about where the color is going to go. It's probably that it's tightened up here. Yeah, look at how tight and small this is. And that this looks bigger, and it's just kind of how it's curving and what we're able to see. But this is wider on that outside. It is tighter on the inside, okay? Which means we're not too bad off here. Turn it. When you get in there with your paint too, if you're painting and you're like, that is so weird looking, you can, you know, kind of go over your space with your paint and adjust it some. Pretty good. We're getting there. So we're just doing this on all of them. If I finish before you, you can just pause it. And if I'm really slow because I can't get a candy cane right today, I'm just sorry. You can fast forward me too, I betcha. So I'm looking for like equal space between everything to simplify for today. But, you know, a more complicated candy cane would have all these little stripes in there too. That's okay, that one worked out. By the last one, we're all gonna love our little candy cane. And then you actually could go back and change the rest if you decided. Okay, I think I've got them all, but this is when we always stop anyways and look at things and kind of go, okay, what's weird and wonky? Do we like it or do we want to adjust it? And so I've already made one adjustment where my pencil was just dark. And honestly, I don't think any of it really bothers me too much. Maybe this line got too fat on the side, but just little things we'll look for. Then let's take our eraser, get rid of everything we don't want to see again, and we'll go ahead and start mixing our paints. So we made it, okay? Let's celebrate. Okay. Bring my paints over, and you can do this in any colors that you want. You could do a light green background with red and white candy canes. You could do colorful candy canes. The whole thing could be bright colors or match your tree or, you know, anything you want to do. Candy canes could be red and green. You have lots of options here. So I'm going to stick with these colors just to keep it consistent with our reference here, which means I'm going to do like a dark red. And then I'm going to take that color and turn it into a pink as well by adding water. Here's a reminder that in watercolor, We get our colors lighter by adding water. Watercolor is transparent, so instead of using white, we just use water. So, okay, first if you've got your spray brush, it's a spray bottle. We'll grab that, spray our paints. This is not necessary, so if you don't have it, don't worry about it. And on this set, the top one is pink, and then these are reds. But for all of these, if you were to add water, you would get a pink color because it's going to lighten it up. So I'm going to grab a little bit. I'm trying to decide what color I want to do here. Well, let's pick our red first. So if you get in there with your brush. So I took a wet brush, okay, and just kind of dug into my paint a little bit. I'm going to take it over to my palette here. And I want to see what color it is and if I like it. I mean, I can just clean my brush right now into my water. And when we clean our brush, we go press, press, press into the bottom of the jar. We're not wiggling. And I can try another color here and see the difference. And this one's like very bright and vibrant. It's really lovely. It's going to be a more, if you look at the difference here from what we did, this is going to be like playful and happy and bright. It's not going to be as dark of a red as this. So you're really looking to see what colors do you want on your candy canes today. You could use 2 colors and alternate them. I think I'm going to stick with the darker one. So for me, that's either the second or the third one from the top. And I only need a small puddle here for that. So because this is going to be in tight spaces, your puddle should be small like this. It should be darker, right? And then you could, to start your puddle of your light pink, you could just swipe some of that color onto your palette, clean out your brush, mix that in. I just added it to the puddle I had there. But see this, I'm going to clean my brush out, add water until I get this to be a nice light color. I like it quite light with the darker, but maybe you want them similar, and any of that is fine. You got to see what you think. Okay, we don't need this one yet. We are going to do the red inside of the candy canes first. So, cleaning out my brush, and I'm drying it on my towel, and I'm just going to remind you when I say I'm drying it, I've cleaned it, and I go 1, 2. Now it's dry, which means we know it's actually damp. And then here, we are going to take our brush. I'm going to dip maybe the first third of my brush or so into this little puddle that I've created, and that's how I am basically using a tiny brush at that point because I'm really limiting my water. And let me zoom into one of these candy canes. Okay, and we're going to, I like to start at the bottom and work up. Really light on the tip of your brush, okay, because using a watercolor brush is about pressure, so the harder you push, the bigger the tip of your brush is. So we'll stay light and stay more vertical. So this would be like on a 45-degree angle, but if you lift your brush up like this, right, we're vertical, okay? It's like on a 0.5. Look how big my brush looks. Okay. Let's start painting. So we'll start to fill these in, and we're just using that dark red, light on the tip of our brush, and this whole thing is going to be so repetitive. As you look at the shape that you drew with your pencil, if you don't exactly like it, you can now change it with your paint. Okay, you're fine. And I want them to be somewhat similar of a width. So I'm going to skip the white space in between. So it's going to go, I'll even get this part in here too. Red, white, red, white, red, white, or whatever 2 colors you're choosing. And I am just sort of refreshing my little puddle of paint over here. And as I did it, just a reminder that when you're really trying to limit your water because you're working in small spaces, don't take your whole brush and dunk it into your water jar. Dip the tip of your brush into your water jar so that all of your adjustments stay small. In mine, I can tell is already a little more water than I need because I can see it pooling here, but I'll grab that in a minute through lifting, and I'll explain that in a second, but I don't need to before I paint this whole thing. Notice I'm turning my paper today. I like the consistency of it, just starting on the left and working to the right on each of them. I'll remind you, there's no one testing you on does this look like a perfect candy cane, so we're all okay. From this, actually, I think this is going to work out fine, and it's probably going to dry, so I'm not going to worry about that one, but if I lift, I'll show you. As I keep painting, I'll just talk to you about lifting. Lifting is when you clean your brush out in your jar, you wipe it on your towel. Now you've got a clean, dry brush, and you can set that right on top of any paint or water or puddle that it just got excess paint or water that you want to lift out. And at that point, you can use your brush like a sponge. Be careful when you do that not to go outside of your shape, because if you accidentally touch your paper outside of your shape, you're gonna make a mess of it. You know, you're either introducing water there or paint, and it'll take you kind of outside of the lines, you know. So since none of this red is going to be touching another spot of red, we don't need to be stopping and going to the dryer right now. So just be careful that you're not accidentally bumping wet paint. So I would move your paper in whatever way seems helpful for that. So I might work down here and then kind of move around. I really like these ones that have repetition in them. To me, that's like one of the sort of most mindful bits of watercolor painting. You kind of create the whole sketch and then you get to just coloring book style fill it in. So watch for your edges and everything here though, because this red paint, if you look at the sides of your candy cane, you know, we'll outline it if you decide to at the end, but it's creating your width of your candy cane because we're not doing another color. So unless you do another color, but just watching that we have these sort of nice straight, clean lines on the edges. Do you eat candy canes, I'm wondering? I actually do, because I like mint. I like mint anything. Like if I go to the dentist, I'm always choosing like the mint fluoride situation. Is it fluoride? Is that the right word? Probably. It's mint for me. I'm a mint girl. We're working around our paper. This one maybe seems bigger than the rest, but that's okay. Maybe it is. If you ever go outside of your lines with something like this, the easy fix would just be, instead of trying to like lift up your red paint, just make that stripe a little bigger. And if you needed to, you could make all the stripes on that candy cane just a little bit wider or taller top to bottom or whatever it is. I sort of feel like when we're in these repetitive parts that I should like turn on a story for us to all listen to. A little book or something. I have, every year for Christmas, I have this little basket of children's books that are like Christmas themed children's books. And every year we get this red basket out and it goes right underneath my Christmas tree. So we always have little Christmas stories handy. And my kids are older now, so they actually do read some of them still, but mostly not. But I just think it's a cute tradition to keep around so that when I have grandkids one day, hopefully they'll be reading those books too. We're almost there. So one thing I hope you're watching for is that your paint is a little bit consistent on things like this. You always want to be refreshing the paint on your brush so that your color somewhat stays the same-ish, right? You could make the tag on the stocking, like the, what do you call that? The thing on the top, this thing. You could make that red if you wanted to, if you wanted a little bit more variety in here. If this is going to be like too plain for you, you could put polka dots throughout or something like that as well. Other types of candy, but then just realize that when you get to painting this part, this background, it's going to be more complicated. But it looks like I've got all of this filled in, and so I'm going to stop for a moment, take the dryer to everything so it's nice and dry, and then we'll do our background. I'm going to show you something just for fun. This is the example one, so I didn't jump ahead. We're still here, okay? But I did want to quick show you, because I just feel like you guys like learning some fun new things, is that if you wanted to make these look a little bit more maybe 3D, you could mix together the teeniest bit of light gray paint, and on, let me see, I'm going to try it 2 different ways. You could just put it right over top. Yeah, that's a cute way, I would say. Right over top of the red and the white. And I will show you, well, can you see it? It gives a bit of a shadow. I'll do it again. These are small, so they're harder to, you could do it this way, or you could do them individually and taking the gray. I'm going to show it to you like this. Let's say you've got stripes. You could do a little bit of gray on each side of the white stripe. Okay, I know this is pinkish gray, but that's okay. But then if it's already red in between, these are your red stripes. Either while it was wet, you could have added some darkness to the side and gotten shadowing, like right, some darkness on the side of your candy canes here. Or you can just do it like I showed you, but what it does, here, see what happens when I do pencil next to it. It's going to give dimension. I don't know if you can see it from here, but it gives like some shadowing effect. This doesn't work great because I just did it quickly. If I would have let this dry first and then worked on top of it, you would see more distinction. But that concept of lifting is press and lift, right? So now I have lightness on the left side, darker on the right. And you could even run this together and see what happens. We probably don't want that because we don't want that much pink on the side, but all right, thanks for that commercial break. We're coming back. And I don't think we're going to do that. We're going to keep it a little bit simple, but if you wanted to, you could kind of pause it and add some shadowing next to these. But for today, we will go ahead. We already mixed this color, but I want you to recheck your puddle. Most of the time, I would take more space for this puddle. So I imagine I'm going to be refreshing it a little bit as I go. Usually I'd have it be maybe this size instead, but since I've got the same color right here, that'll be easy for me to do because when I want more, I can draw from here and add water, right, and keep my puddle. So this is like a flat wash, so I will refer you to my flat wash video. I can't remember what number it is, but I'll link it below. And so for those, paper a little bit, we are going to kind of be methodical about it. I want you to think about moving a puddle around the paper. So maybe take half of your brush into that paint, and we're going to start by filling in up here on top left, bring it down. Now, because this isn't too complicated of a design that we're working around, it shouldn't be bad, but what you're looking for is your edges. You don't want your edges to dry. So look at this. I'm coming around my shapes. All this is wet, okay? I'm gonna get the tag at the same time, both sides of it. Keep going like it's all one shape. And I want to keep it moving. So I've got all this. I'm not going to continue to come up here and go back over this. If I start to do that, what you'll see is it'll start drying and it will start to leave marks up there. So what we want to do is paint it and leave it, you know, kind of like keep it moving. And so it's really helpful if you press into the belly of your brush while you're in the bigger spaces, and then light on the tip of your brush when you are trying to get around tight spaces or close to things. That's when you want to get light on the tip of your brush. But we're moving this puddle around, grabbing from it and coming down. And I will not be touching it up here again unless I have a spot where there's a lot of puddling or pooling. And at that point, we will only lift out kind of what we need to. So I'm refreshing my puddle. Don't forget to do that. It shouldn't be stressful to get to the end, you know? So if you're here and if you can make up a little bit more paint so you know you're good to go, you just want to kind of make sure you don't have hard edges, so you don't want it drying all over the place. You want the whole thing to dry as one. I think candy canes are so cute. Red, white, and pink. Pretty much adorable. Okay, so I'm grabbing all those edges. Notice I really am pressing into the belly of that brush. If you are struggling with things like this, you may just stop and watch what I'm doing, because I just find that observation, and you'll just probably notice what I'm doing that's probably only slightly different than what you're doing. But those differences add up. I've finished the whole thing. So what I'm going to quickly do is look and see if there's puddling or pooling. I cleaned my brush. I dried it on a towel. I see right here there's extra. I'm just going to touch it and lift it. The less you can disturb it, the better. Up down here, there's a little bit. I'll try to grab just a little bit of it. And really, I'm just going to take it to the dryer. If there's a bunch of puddling and pooling and you go to the dryer, it's probably going to just move it in a way you don't like. So at this point, I'll stop and I'll dry the whole thing. Okay, I've got mine dry. And see the scale difference? I just think this is good. This big space is hard to get in the candy cane, so that's why we aired on the side of a little bit larger. And now the whole thing's dry. I can tell because I can't see any light reflecting on it. Okay, and then if I were to touch it, it also feels dry. We don't want to get into your ink with it wet still, because then your ink will be fuzzy, and we don't want fuzzy ink. So I usually like to start with outlining the whole thing, but really it does not matter. The one thing I do want to point out is that when you're doing a candy cane, you know, the candy canes are actually smooth. So don't do what I did on that little example and try to like bump it around all of the color, stripes, because really candy canes are smooth. So this is the way I'm going about it. If you have a cutie way you like to do your detail work with your ink, go for it. We're just going to kind of hang out and just put ink where we have pencil. You could go between all of these, right? Like in between all these stripes here. Oh yeah, look, that's what I did on this. Oh, cute. Now we got to decide which one we like. I'm going to do the outside of everything and then decide if I'm going to do the stripes or not. I feel like it's dark. Hopefully that helped just a little bit. Okay. All right. All right, I guess it is time for some stories. Okay, here's some of my traditions. Is that one, my mom does a scavenger hunt for my family every year. And it's always at the end of the gifts. And she divides us into 2 teams. And we get really competitive. And it's literally like Team A and Team B. But we could, at that point, we could basically make shirts and cheer for ourselves because we're so excited to be on whatever team we're on. And we have to go find random items in her house. And it'll be like, I don't know, it'll be like a starfish ornament, a spoon, shampoo. Like it'll just be random. And she sends us all over her house. And it's really cute. And then in the end, all it is that there's gift cards, which who doesn't love gift cards? And then the winning team gets to pick first. So everybody wins in the end, which I love. So that's a cute one. And then there was another year where my dad was really sick with cancer and he had lost his hair. And I don't know if this was Thanksgiving or Christmas, but then we all wore crazy hats for a picture, including my dad. And so we have like the goofiest picture of us with the silliest hats, and somehow that one sticks with me, you know? This time of year, I get really excited about all the festivities, and then I also start to kind of get excited about the after, because I find that basically like January through probably even April is like such a good time to work on a skill that you want to work on or just get things done. Okay, look at that. I like it. Okay, the one on the left has the ink between the stripes. The one on the right does not. Ooh. I'm gonna leave it. You decide for you though, okay? And if you want to do it, you just keep on going right between those. And when you're finished with the entire thing, we're going to make sure to sign it. I love to sign it right along that heel. If you want to share your artwork with me, I really genuinely do love seeing it. And you can share photos over on Facebook. So that's why I send you over to my Facebook page at Audrey Shantz Art. And then you can share photos and see each other's work and see if anybody changed up their colors or whatever. And thanks for hanging out with me today. I will see you back here for tomorrow for another stocking on the 12 Days of Comfort and Color.